Frack on. Welcome to an episode of Frack the Canon. I am joined by the coolest motherfucker around, my tocayo, the other Renee, who's joining me on this Frack the Canon TARDIS episode. How you doing, tocayo?
Oh, I'm good, Kyle. How you doing?
I'm doing great. You want to drop us some of your Doctor Who nerd cred before we start?
Oh my goodness. So I've been watching Doctor Who since I want to say only like the fifth or sixth season of this new series that came out. So that was like 2010. So it's been about 14 years now.
Right.
So I jumped on back when Doctor Who was still on Netflix and I binged it when it was on. I saw everything, Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, even when Netflix still had the original episodes on. So I even got into the classic stuff, but and then it's just been on since then. Unfortunately, since then we've had less seasons. It's all getting
Yeah.
spread out over every like couple years, which sucks.
Who's your favorite Doctor?
Oh man, we're gonna get. I knew you were gonna ask me that. It's such a such a loaded question. It really is. You know what? I would probably have to say Peter Capaldi.
Interesting. That's a rare one. That you don't hear that often. It's either Tennant or Tennant.
No, it's, I mean, especially with the younger audience. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, I see a lot of stuff on Reddit, and everybody's like, "Oh, you know what? It's Tom Baker. It's you know, even you get a lot of love for even Sylvester McCoy, in
Yeah.
there, or even going further back to William Hartnell, kind of thing, in some of those ones. But there's, and I'll say the scene that really sold it for me, and I always get the name of the episodes confused, whether it was the Zygon inversion or invasion, because there's the back-to-back episodes
Yeah. The one with Clara, right?
in
Clara was
season
still.
season nine. Yeah. And it was the speech that he gives with the two buttons.
You will never understand.
I don't understand. Are you kidding me? Of course I understand. I mean, you call this a war, this funny little thing? This is not a war. I fought in a bigger war than you will ever know. I did worse things than you could ever imagine. And when I close my eyes, I hear more screams than anyone could ever be able to count. And you know what you do with all that pain? Shall I tell you where you put it? You hold it tight till it burns your hand. And you say this: no one else will ever have to live like this. No one else will ever have to feel this pain.
And that speech just gets me every time. And it is the best speech in the entirety of 60 years of Doctor Who.
I will second that. It's funny too because I got into Doctor Who also through Netflix in 2013 because I'm like, what is this show? Like, why did people love it so much? And I started watching on Netflix and I fell in love with Christopher Eccleston, and I just binge watched that whole season up until the 50th anniversary. I tried watching back classic Doctor Who, and I just couldn't get like the production value. I'm like, dude, the stage is wobbly. Come on. So I couldn't get into that. It just like it took me out. But yeah, I've been a Whovian since. Not as hardcore as you. Like you got some tats. I saw you got some. When I met you, you had some Gallifreyan.
Oh, yeah, no. So I have the circular Gallifreyan on the outside of my left arm. Um, in my Deathly Hollows tattoo, I've got a sonic screwdriver. Um, and then I've got one of the quotes on my right arm in there. And there's, I think, a couple plans for some more stuff in there just to fill up the sleeve.
See,
But
I'm not that hardcore of a Whovian. Like I'm like, dude, that guy. I remember I'm like, is that are you rocking a Gallifreyan tattoo? You go, oh, yeah, yeah. I'm like, that's pretty dope.
yeah. Well, and the
Oh,
funny thing is, like, people don't realize it, and like based on the way I chose it and where I chose it, people like don't see that,
mhm.
like just that absolute nerd. And I was like, guys, I'm literally wearing my nerd on my sleeve, like literally. Like I
Nerd
don't have to
recognize
dress like it; it's on my skin.
nerd recognizes nerd.
Yeah, yeah. If you know, you know.
So yeah, so I was like, okay, so this is cool. And then going back to Capaldi, I wasn't a big Capaldi fan. My favorite Doctor is Eccleston, and there's something about him that I just
Yeah.
that about him. But I think I will go with you. One of my favorite Doctor Who episodes, besides Blink, because everyone loves, but is a Capaldi episode, and there's a solo episode like Hell Bent.
This whole place is designed to terrify me. I know you. I've seen you before. If you were any part of killing her, and you're not afraid, then you understand nothing at all. I am the Doctor. I'm coming to find you, and I will never, ever stop.
Where he's been.
Oh, that is the best episode.
That is like one of the best.
Hands
I'm like,
down.
you're like, all right, see what you will about Capaldi, but this episode is a great episode of Doctor Who. Like that was just chef's kiss.
Well, it's interesting because it breaks the mold on what an actual episode of it really should be, because the Doctor, and this is how it's always been. This is why the Doctor has human companions. People always complain like, "Oh, we want the non-human companions. We want it like maybe we could do a little bit without all the Earth drama." But we as viewers see through the eyes of the companions. We are not the Doctor. We're not supposed to understand the feeling of Doctor, and that kind of changed a little bit in New Who. But if you really watch the old episodes, the Doctor was arrogant person, and we're not supposed to feel what he feels. We're supposed to think that he's cool, maybe idolize
Mm-hmm.
to that point, but the relatable characters were always the companions. It's also why there were so many in the beginning. I mean, you look at William Hartnell, you had 3 companions.
Yeah.
Now, one of them, again, was his granddaughter. We're still not sure how that connection fully works out, because I don't think they've ever really fully explained it. But I mean, you had then the 2 school teachers
Yeah,
that were also in there. And what made it actually a science fiction show was they go between history and science in the episodes. And that's why there was so much in the past. One, production value back in 63 was awful. I mean, you could see the string on everything. But I mean, that's who we're supposed to emulate. And so when we get into Hell Bent, it is the Doctor himself telling the story. And he is like the only person that we really see the perspective from. And as Capaldi has been probably one of the most unrelatable Doctors in the New Who series, that episode you really see and feel everything that he does and what he's exploring through. And you kind of almost feel the pain of him going through this for 2 billion years.
Yeah, that I remember his frustration and anger. It's like, dude, like I remember I was tearing up because like I remember saying to someone, dude, he's such an alien character. Like I don't know how to relate to the character at all. Like I don't know why I'm cheering for this guy. But that episode, I'm like, all right, cool. The 12th Doctor is cool now. Okay, he at least this story. And that's my favorite story.
And that's where you kind of lose it a little bit in that Moffat era. Was Clara becomes a little bit unrelatable to me. I didn't really care for her character in season 8. Now, some people do. Some people like the whole Danny Pink situation. That wasn't for me. I think the series really came back in that 9th and 10th season when you have Clara kind of going off the rails a little bit. You have Bill, who really is probably one of the closest friends of a companion that the Doctor has ever had.
Yeah.
I mean, because everybody else is like either the way that they treat the Doctor versus Bill is like a legitimate friend to the Doctor. And a lot of that, we're not seeing that relationship build, but it builds a lot off screen. And you can kind of see the development of the relationship as the season goes on. But, you know, that's what makes it really good, and when you can understand the writing behind everything. And that's why I prefer, if you look at the 2 writing styles, Davies versus Moffat, and their background as well. I mean, I believe Russell T Davies is gay. I want to say.
I think he's open about it.
And so it's one of those things where he had a lot of this scar in childhood. You look at the score of the show and how he writes characters. Davies writes characters, Moffat writes stories.
Yes, dude. Yes. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely, dude. Great point, dude. I never thought about it like that, but yes, You're absolutely right.
So you see a lot of great, and that's why they talk about it all the time, is Davies had great character development. He also knew how to write women.
Yes.
The women in the Davies era was so much better, even though you did have the River Song character. But even then, there wasn't a whole lot of like layers to the character, really, until you kind of get to the Husbands of River Song episode, which was her last episode in the show, where you really see how she feels or why she feels about the Doctor. And there's just so much more to that. But I mean, Davies knew how to write a character. You look at the score, Murray Gold did both for the Davies and Moffat era. And the score was so much more contained and was meant to feel the emotion of characters. And that's why a lot of people, when they talk about Tennant and Eccleston as why they got brought in, is because you do feel more of an emotional connection. Moffat was more the grandiose.
Yeah.
So you know that immediately when you hear dun, 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 like it's this adventure song. Whereas the Doctor song before, do you know what that one is?
I don't do. I remember it. I just remember.
It's almost like that angelic singing.
Oh, yep. When
that is the difference in the two Doctor songs. Was that Eccleston and Tennant song was like this like choir singing in the background with this like soft string music, whereas like you got the grandioseness of the Smith era, and that's what also a lot of people related to as well, was because you felt like you're going on a fun adventure.
You're absolutely right. With Eccleston, it felt more like a tragic hero, on not willing but a relentless, begrudging hero. Whereas Matt Smith was like, "Hey, I'm here, the grand like adventure, the grand swashbuckler. Let's go!" Like, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I never thought about it. You're absolutely right. I never thought about it yet. That is so cool. Yeah, because I do enjoy the Doctor's theme. The dun, da, 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 da. I'll put it in here a little bit. But dude, yeah, that's great point. I never thought about it like that. That's amazing.
And you really feel it in the episode. I want to say it was the two-part. I always get the two-parter episodes confused on whichever title it is, but I want to say it was the Doctor Dances.
Yep.
And that was in Eccleston's episode where, you know what, just this once.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives.
Just this once.
That was
also really, what do you think about it? That there's not probably almost a single episode of Doctor Who where somebody doesn't die.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre in and of itself. Like when you think that of the hero, that there is just this constant death around him, but then somehow Davies is like able to then create this so much emotion around it that he just finally is just so done. He just can't do it anymore. He needs everybody to just make it this time.
I think Stephen Moffat wrote that episode, those two episodes. I think.
Yes, but it was because of the Davies design.
Right, exactly.
Of it. I mean, most of the best episodes in Doctor Who were written by Moffat. I mean, Blink was written by Moffat, which it's not my favorite episode, but I know it's a lot of people's favorite episodes.
It is such a good episode. That actually scared me from statues. I'm not gonna lie. That made me like, oh my god, what is that? It's a good episode.
It just so funny. I mean, you talk about that episode was written by him. I mean, that's why he brought River Song in, because he did the
library,
Silence in the Library,
yep. Which is also another great episode.
That is probably one of the best episodes in the Davies era, I'll say.
Yeah. No, I'm glad Davies came back, because, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I do remember feeling, I don't know if you felt this, but during the Moffat era, the Matt Smith years, I'm like, well, just everything he wanted to do. I felt just everything he wanted to do as a fan. I want to see like bigger Daleks. I want to have him. I want the companion to have kids or whatever, which is River Song.
Mhm.
And then as the show went on, I could feel him getting kind of tired, and I felt
Yeah.
I felt it during the Capaldi era. And by the last season, by the last episodes, I think the last cool thing that I enjoyed from Stephen Moffat was the Master being Missy. I'm like, dude, what? And then there's that one scene where the Master from Tennis Master and Missy meet and they dance. I'm like, dude, that
Mhm.
is so fracked up. That is so cool. That was, I think it was the last cool thing.
I mean, and I say this in no disrespect, I think Roger Delgado as the original Master was amazing. I think Missy does just such a fracked up and messed up version of this character who's just so psychotic. But so does John Sims.
Yes.
Like both those masters, you know, Michelle Gomez and John Sims both doing these just bizarre characters. I mean, and then you even get it into what was it, Sasha Dewan. Out
He
of
was
everything that came out of the Chibnall era, I think that he did a great job with the Master. Now, some of those storylines and how the Master did stuff and things like that definitely, I think, made his character seem like I didn't think he was as cool. You know, I think, and I think because I actually, John Sims was only in like 3 episodes before he came back, but I thought he did such a great job. Like he was the Master to me for so long. I mean, and then Michelle Gomez, and then I mean, even Sasha Dewan, like they've all done such a great job. And I think that was the best thing that actually came out of the Chibnall era.
I agree completely. No disrespect to Jodie Whittaker, I think she's a great actress. I have so many complaints about this Chibnall era that I'm like, dude. But the best thing, you're absolutely right, was that Master. How do you say his name again?
Yeah. I want to say it's Sasha Dewan.
Because I saw him on another show here on NBC called Outsourced. I'm like, oh, dude, that's funny. But he played a good Master. Like, I tried watching Robert Delgado. My first introduction to the Master was Eric Roberts from
Eric Roberts in the movie.
Doctor Who movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had quite a few people play him because the only reason that, and so this is what according to legend, the reason that that the Third Doctor stopped doing it was because Roger Delgado died, and he didn't want to continue on doing the stories with him. And so then Tom Baker came into the role.
I did not know that because I did not know that.
Yeah, because like there's some of those interesting things in regards to like why the Doctor left, and because I was just doing some research onto that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I mean, the only reason we had the regeneration in the first place was because William Hartnell was getting too old to do it and couldn't remember his lines.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I mean, I really liked this what we call the space hobo and Patrick Troughton, you know, going into that, and then John Pertwee playing like the next two Doctors were just so arrogant. John Pertwee was just such a jerk, and so is Tom Baker, but people forget that because he's just so clueless and lovable in other areas. But then to Peter Davidson, and then obviously you've got the whole, and I don't think it's Colin Baker's fault. I actually did like his acting, but that whole Sixth Doctor was just a mess. I mean, when you try to get somebody to strangle a companion in the first episode.
Yeah, I was like, I skimmed through some of those episodes. I've seen a handful of the classic Who episodes, but I'm like, yeah, that I'm like, dude, like, what the frack is this, dude? Like, what? Like, yeah, but it was. Yeah, nothing against Colin Baker. I think Colin Baker did what he was given to his best ability.
Yeah.
Like Jodie Whittaker, I thought.
Yeah.
I kind of wish she would have been the Doctor under Russell T Davis's run. I think it would have been a completely different show. Yeah, because
I think he would have been able to write her better. Mm-hmm. Like the problem is that honestly, she was written as a woman, and I don't think as the Doctor.
Yep. Dude, yes, exactly. Dude, exactly. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, this is just, yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
The way that you know, the portrayal of it, like if you look at it, every great doctor in New Who has had a speech that defined them.
Yep.
You know, you've had, I mean, obviously, so the Eccleston speech and the Doctor dances. You have, I mean, multiple Tennant speeches, but I think specifically the one, forgetting the episode right now, but it's where they're on the futuristic Titanic.
Hang on a minute. Who put you in charge? And who the hell are you anyway?
I'm the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kasterborous. I'm 903 years old, and I'm the man who's going to save your lives and all 6 billion people on the planet below. You got a problem with that?
Yeah. The one
I'm 903 years old.
From the
In that
constellation.
speech.
Yeah. That's a great
And
speech.
then you have Matt Smith. He's got a few. But I mean, obviously you have the Pandorica.
Sorry, dropped it. Hello, Stonehenge! Who takes the Pandorica takes the universe. But bad news, everyone! Because guess who? Ha! Listen, you lot, you're all whizzing about. It's really very distracting. Could you all just stay still a minute? Because I am talking! Now, the question of the hour is, who's got Pandorica? Answer, I do. Next question, who's coming to take it from me? Come on! Look at me! No plan, no backup, no weapons worth a damn. Oh, and something else I don't have. Anything to lose. So, if you're sitting up there in your silly little spaceship with all your silly little guns, and you've got any plans on taking the Pandorica tonight, just remember who's standing in your way. Remember every black day I ever stopped you, and then, do the smart thing. Let somebody else try first.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
In that one.
Speech. Yep.
Yes, I mean, you have that speech. I mean, you have the Capaldi speech in the Zygon inversion about the war, and you know, just I know what it's like to hear the screams of billions every time I close my eyes. And then what do we have with Whitaker? What's up, fam? Like,
yeah,
like there's no threatening. Like when the Doctor speaks, you run. And
like,
there was nothing in her character, in the way that she presented herself, that made you want, honestly, to fear her.
Right. And that dude, I tried so hard. I tried so hard to care for that doctor, but it was just like I don't. Like there were a couple of things that kind of threw me out of it. One of it was the fugitive doctor. I'm like, what is this? Like, what does that mean? And then the timeless child, that she was adopted, and that they used her biology. If I got it right, correct me if I'm wrong. But was that, no, you're from another dimension, from another world, and we found you. We manipulated your biology and put it into ours, and that's why. I'm like, wait, what? I thought that was.
So I mean, when we look at that, you know, and possibly depending on, and we'll get more into detail, that stuff could have been retconned. There's a couple lines that happen in that third special that potentially help retcon some of that stuff that he did. I will say that the best episode in that one was the first appearance of the lone Cyberman. I want to say it was the haunting of Via Diodi.
I don't remember
something like that. When they're it was the Mary Shelley episode when they're trying to write and do the Frankenstein.
Oh, dude.
And it's like this scary episode, and it's like the ghost and everything like that. I think that has got to be probably the best episode.
That
that
was a
era,
good
because there
episode.
were some highlights.
There
of
that
that.
was a good episode. That was a good episode. I remember thinking, "Oh, this is a cool story." I just wish there was more
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
I felt that because I saw Chris Chibnall's other work. I'm like, this is good. Okay, gonna be good. I'm like, oh, you're not. I don't think Doctor Who was his forte. I think it was just like it's a job.
I think because he'd been around since season 1.
Yeah,
But if you look at his episodes, if you look on IMDb and see what episodes he was the writer on, they were some of the weaker ones in the series as well. They were particularly strong episodes as well. And then, again, so I talked about it earlier. The biggest complaint that everybody has with it is not necessarily Jodie Whittaker's performance. Sometimes it's not necessarily the stories; it's the companions suck.
I like the
Am I wrong?
I like the
No, come on. That
I just
whole
like okay, fine,
throwing in this relationship thing at the end, knowing, and this is what I hate about the spoiler content nowadays, is we already knew that they were leaving. We already knew that there's only like 3 more specials left, or like 2 specials left when they talk about this relationship. Like, where is this going to go? Like, there's no story with there. It was just a lot of complaining. I mean, the only strong companion, and even then it wasn't great, was Graham.
he he was the best thing. But you're like you
He
said,
was
it's the low
more
bar.
the comic relief. Like, he was a little bit more the voice of reason. There was a couple moments where you're like, okay, I don't fully agree with him, but he was the best of the companions. And so when he left, you know, bringing in, and I didn't think anything was wrong with Dan. And I've recently rewatched that whole Flux season, and obviously that Angel episode was far and away the best of that season.
I was so confused about what was happening too. I'm like, wait, what? Why? Like, it felt like he was trying to retcon stuff. I don't know because I got lost and I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. Because I tried watching the Flux and I still have it saved up in my DVR. Then I'm gonna watch it again. I just haven't gotten to it. I've watched the special like 6 times since they've been out on Disney Plus. Then the Flux, I'm like, this is a lot more fun.
The Flux was, I think, a very ambitious project for the amount of episodes that it was going to be. It was like a 6-episode arc, and you bring in these extra characters and you bring in these extra stories, and then you kind of almost ignore what happened previously. It was a very interesting season. But then you bring in this companion, and how long is he actually with the Doctor?
I don't know.
Like, not long at all. Like, the first 3 episodes happen within a matter of like days. Like, it doesn't last very long at all. And then all of a sudden, Dan spends like 3 or 4 years with Yaz in the past with this other guy. And so it's almost like Dan and Yaz are companions with each other. And it's like he's got this image of the Doctor who spent like 3 or 4 days with. The only reason he's doing this is because he's stuck. And then obviously you get into the specials where they spent some time together. But the whole Flux season, I'm like, why is Dan a part of this? He literally met like the night that it happened, and then it just felt really rushed to me. So there's really I could have cared less for Dan, to be honest.
Yeah.
Up until the specials, because there's no like connection between him and the Doctor.
You're not wrong. It was not good. It was not. Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is, yeah. And no one seemed to liked the story. Like, everyone was okay. Like, yeah. What I heard the most was, it's not her fault. It's the story's fault. It's the writer's fault. There's not good stories, not interesting stories. And like you said too, like, why are we here? Like, why is this guy here? I'm like, I knew. I completely forgot about that character until you just mentioned him right now. That's how powerful he was.
I mean, can you really name any episodes? And I know that part of it, honestly, with Chibnall and that's what they did with Colin Baker and McCoy, is that they wanted this new stuff, and the BBC is notorious for intervening too much in their shows at the head level. And so, from what Chibnall was saying, they wanted new monsters as well. So he had to come up with these new stories. And that's not something I think he was used to. I think he was planning, when he was taking over as showrunner, was to kind of run with it a little bit. And so I don't think it's completely fair to him that the BBC interfered a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, you kind of you are given what you. Davies had a horrible production value. If we look back at that first season,
Yeah. Oh yeah. But there's something
I
about
mean,
it. That,
talking monsters in green zip up suits, like
oh my god.
that's CGI. That's CGI
Yeah, that
for the aliens in the Aliens of London episode.
the Slovene, the farting
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah, I was like, talk about that. Just such low production on that,
But that's
and yet it was still able to write with it. So it's you can get Chibnall for so much and the BBC for so much, but it was just, I think, everything at once
yeah, it
as
was.
well.
That's what I'm saying too, because even though Davies had a low production value, there was still that moment with the Ninth Doctor and the Savine Prime Minister lady are having that conversation, like, "You're gonna take me to get killed. You know what you're doing. Like, you know why." Like it was very. There were stakes, so I'm like, all right, Davies is a good writer. Davies knows what to do.
Yeah,
And not trying to belittle Chibnall, but I'm like, dude, like,
yeah. Well, and it's like what in that same episode, then you're talking Eccleston's locked in the room at 10 Downing, right? And yet you still knew he was going to win because he just had this bravado about him, and that is the key to the Doctor, is arrogance, and that's why he's not as relatable as the companions. Is that he knows no matter what the situation, even if he doesn't know how to do it, even if the companion's going to get him out, that he'll get out of it and still somehow take credit for it. Whereas she's just like very like timid and like toned down version of the Doctor.
Interesting. I never thought about that. Who is your favorite companion?
Oh man, that's a hard one.
I'll tell you mine. Mine's Rose.
No, okay.
Billy Piper Rose. That's mine. Which is I know it's
okay.
a cop-out answer.
Okay, no. But why though?
Why?
Why?
Because she was the first one. There was something about her that I loved. And she was willing to go. She was, let's have fun. She was. I think the main reason because she was my first companion, but there was something about her about her strength, about her willingness. Like, okay, what was her name? Not the one in the third season.
What are you talking about, Martha?
Martha was strong.
Yeah.
Martha was way stronger than Rose, but there was something about Rose that I really, really captured too. Donna, I know people love Donna. I just like, dude, you're annoying. Like, frack off.
I mean, Donna had this like strength about her, but she had the mouth, and that's what worked for their relationship. And the fact that it was, first off, it was the first time in 4 years since New Who, since there's a break from the sexual tension.
Yeah,
with the Doctor, and it was a good relationship. And I think there's something to be said for that whole special relationship with Rose as well. But I mean, and I get it. Most everybody's favorite companion is Rose, or it's Clark, it's Amy. Again, it's a lot of New Who stuff. I think my favorite is and this is bringing it way back, but I loved Jamie McCrimmon, who's with the second Doctor.
See the Scottish guy?
Yes.
I don't know why I know that, but I did know that. I did know that. Well, I
mean, he was there for the entire run. I mean, he was a hero. I mean, he was still relatable because he was still that human character. and he would still get into trouble, but he could like fight his way out of it, and he was the strength that the Doctor didn't necessarily have, in a lot of episodes. But he still looked up to the Doctor and still listened to him because he just knew, But I mean, if we're talking like straight companions, now there's an argument to be made that you have the original Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart as a companion, but then you also have, and you gotta love him, you got Wilfred Mott. Yeah.
Dude, people love, I think it's my favorite. Who does not love Wilfred?
I know. So it's one of those things where, depending on your definition of companion, like, he did kind of go on that adventure with him, like, kind of not. So it's like, is he really a companion? Like, yes. But, it's like he was just so great.
Yeah, no, you're
like he had the whole embodiment and spirit of what it means to be like this. Honestly, he came from that time, and what I think is wrapped with British audiences specifically was he came with that fighting spirit of the British, which is what they were known for in World War II and a lot of stuff that we like to watch. And I think he just really embodies that can-do attitude.
All right. Anything else before we move on to the main subject of our episode?
Yeah, I think that kind of gets into it. Like,
but again, thank you, Takaya. Thank you for joining me for this. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off.